I sometimes think when I was a little kid, and I used to hang out with my grandfather who was in his 90s, and I thought, Jesus, who the hell want to live this long?
Clint Eastwood has been out of the spotlight for some time, but at 94, he recently made a rare public appearance that got everyone talking again.
Well, Clint Eastwood is one of a handful of extraordinary actors to have found success in front and behind the camera.
He is widely regarded as one of the greatest names in Hollywood, with a long list of iconic roles. However, beyond his career, his personal life has also drawn attention. But that was then. Now the way Clint lives has surprised many people. His life today is far from what most would expect of a Hollywood legend. So, what is Clint Eastwood's life like now? Join us as we take a closer look at how Clint Eastwood is spending his later years.
Never too late to learn in life, and I learned that and that's why I'm still working, I guess, because I learn something new all the time.
How Clint Eastwood lives now. Eastwood's life today might surprise those who knew him in earlier years. In recent times, he has faced a few challenges, especially during the filming of Juror Number 2. While working on the movie, Clint experienced some health issues that caused a delay in production. At his age, even minor setbacks can have a bigger impact. But this is just one chapter in a life full of unexpected turns. And there's more happening behind the scenes. Stay tuned. The details may surprise you. Alongside these health concerns, Clint has opened up about the realities of aging. He said he doesn't let the old man in, choosing instead to stay active and involved. For him, staying alive means staying happy. He avoids the negativity that often comes with age, like fear or weakness. He believes growing older can still be a time of purpose and creativity. Though he hasn't been diagnosed with a serious illness, he admits aging has slowed him down. His body doesn't move like it used to, and he's more careful now. Still, he remains mentally sharp and committed to a healthy routine, including good nutrition and light exercise. That discipline has helped him stay engaged, even as the signs of age become more visible. But what was his life like before now? How is it different today? Let's take a quick look back at the path Clint Eastwood has walked. Clint Eastwood's life before now. Clint Eastwood was born on May 31st, 1930, in San Francisco. His parents, Clinton Eastwood and Ruth Runner, had family roots from several parts of Europe. Some of Clint's ancestors came from England, Scotland, Germany, Ireland, and the Netherlands. One of them had even come to America on the Mayflower, but his father struggled to keep steady work, so the family kept moving during the 1930s. By 1940, they settled in Piedmont, California. It was a wealthy town, and for a short time, they lived in a nice house. It looked like they were doing well, but it didn't last. Clint still didn't feel like he truly belonged. In school, Clint had a hard time. He was held back in junior high and had to attend summer school. He also got in trouble a lot. After some pranks, like putting signs on the gym roof, he was kicked out of Piedmont High. He moved to Oakland Technical High School next. Some teachers told him to try drama, but he didn't care about acting yet. He liked cars, golf, tennis, and playing piano. He practiced piano so hard that his fingers would bleed. This showed how serious he could be when he focused on something. Even with all that, his friend Fritz Maines during an interview expressed doubt about Clint finishing high school, said Clint dropped out. However, other sources indicate Eastwood did graduate from Oakland Technical High School. While Maines may have believed Eastwood didn't finish high school, official records confirm his graduation. Still, even as questions about his schooling came up, Clint was thinking much about the future then. He wasn't planning for a career yet. He just wanted to enjoy life and do things his way. That habit would show up again later in his life. In 1949, Clint's dad moved to Seattle, but Clint stayed in Oakland. He lived with his friend Harry Pendleton. Around that time, He went to a party in Malibu and met director Howard Hawks. That meeting didn't lead to a job right away, but it was his first real step toward the movie world. Before anything big happened, Clint worked many jobs. He was a logger in Oregon. He also worked as a lifeguard and even played piano in a bar. These jobs were not glamorous, but they gave him experience and helped him build confidence. He also took night classes at Los Angeles City College during this time, though he never earned a degree. Still, those classes in business and drama gave him exposure to the structured world of storytelling. He liked hearing how films were put together. It didn't change his plans immediately, but the lessons stayed with him, and they shaped how he would later direct movies. In 1951, Clint was drafted into the Army during the Korean War. He didn't fight in the war, but served as a swimming teacher at Fort Ord in California. His job was safe, but that didn't mean danger-free. On September 30th, 1951, Clint caught a ride on a military plane that ran out of fuel and crashed into the ocean. Clint swam between 2 and 4 miles to shore. His training helped him survive. That event stayed in his memory for the rest of his life. Years later, Clint played a prisoner who escaped from Alcatraz by swimming to freedom. It wasn't just a movie role for him. He had actually lived through something similar. It was one of those times when his real life and acting crossed paths. Even while in the Army, Clint kept busy. He got a job at a sugar company and spent time with an officer's daughter. He always found ways to keep moving and earning, even during quiet times. But something happened during this period that changed his life. A trip to Carmel during those years had a big effect on him. He told his friends he wanted to live there someday. That dream came true years later when he not only moved there, but also became the town's mayor. At Fort Ord, Clint made 2 important friends, Richard Long and Martin Milner. They both wanted to be actors. Those friendships helped Clint start to think more seriously about acting. They gave him early support in the film business. In the 1970s and early 1980s, Clint Eastwood began to change the kind of roles he played. He started taking on tougher, more serious parts. In Dirty Harry, he was a rule-breaking cop. It was a big shift from his cowboy days, but people liked it. That led to more similar films like Thunderbolt and Lightfoot and The Gauntlet. But Clint didn't want to only play serious or angry characters. He acted in the comedy Every Which Way But Loose and its sequel. He worked with an orangutan named Clyde. People were surprised, but it showed Clint wasn't afraid to take chances. Then came Escape from Alcatraz in 1979. This was a serious movie where Clint played a man trying to escape from prison. It showed he could handle tough emotional roles without needing violence or jokes. In 1975, something terrible happened during the filming of The Eiger Sanction. David Knowles, a mountain climber, died in a rock slide while filming a scene. Clint was nearby when it happened. The scene they had just filmed was similar to the real accident. Clint was deeply shaken. At first, Clint wanted to stop filming, but the crew told him to keep going and finish the movie in Knowles' memory. Clint agreed, but he never forgot what happened. It was another moment that showed how serious things could turn, even while making a movie. As the 1980s turned into the 1990s, Clint's characters began to show more feelings and more pain. In movies like Firefox, Tightrope, and The Rookie, his characters were not just strong, they were also troubled. They had problems inside, not just outside. Clint also directed White Hunter, Blackheart. In that movie, he played a film director who wanted to kill an elephant. The story was based on a real director. It showed Clint's interest in people who were tough on the outside but had inner struggles. Later, he made Unforgiven, which many people see as his best film. He played an old outlaw who had to face his violent past. The film was not about revenge, it was about regret. It won him an Academy Award and showed how much he had grown as both an actor and a director. In the 2000s and after, Clint began playing older men who were trying to deal with their past. In Space Cowboys, Bloodwork, $1 Million Baby, and Gran Torino, his characters were aging and looking for peace. These stories were about people who had made mistakes and were trying to fix them. Beyond his impressive career and memorable movie roles, Clint also has a personal life that's very different from what we see on screen. Part of that includes a scandal in his marriage and even more behind the scenes. Let's take a closer look at the personal side of Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood's personal life. Clint Eastwood's personal life has always been complicated. Behind the strong characters he played on screen were choices and relationships that shaped a very different story in private. He married Maggie Johnson in 1953. It looked like a step toward a quiet, steady life. He was still trying to build a career, and Maggie seemed like a strong partner. But it wasn't long before Clint began to have affairs. This would happen again and again in his life, shaping how people saw him and how his family grew. One of the earliest signs came with a woman named Linda, who gave birth to a daughter named Laurie Murray. Clint didn't know about the child. The baby was given up for adoption. Years later, Clint found out and welcomed Laurie into his life. But this moment opened the door to a bigger story, one with more children, more secrets, and more questions. Not long after, Clint began seeing Roxanne Tunis. She worked as a stunt woman. Their relationship lasted about 14 years, and during that time, they had a daughter named Kimber. Clint didn't accept her at first. The truth came out slowly. For years, Clint kept the relationship with Roxanne and Kimber private. Still, Clint stayed with Maggie, and they had 2 children together, Kyle and Allison. Both followed creative paths. Kyle became a musician. Allison started acting. But in 1979, the marriage began to fall apart. Clint had started a public relationship with actress Sondra Locke, and the tension at home grew too much. The relationship with Locke lasted a while, but it ended badly. Locke later said Clint treated her unfairly. She said he made her get abortions and even pushed her to have surgery so she couldn't have children. Their fight ended in court. The legal case drew public attention, something Clint usually tried to avoid, but it didn't end there. During the time he was with Locke, Clint had another relationship. He met a flight attendant named Jaslyn Reeves. They had 2 children, Scott and Catherine, but Clint didn't talk about them in public. Their birth certificates didn't even list a father. The truth only came out many years later, and it surprised people who thought they knew his full story. Later, Clint began seeing actress Frances Fisher. They met while making a movie. Their time together didn't last long, but they had a daughter named Francesca. Clint tried to stay involved in her life, but the pressure from the media and the weight of past choices made things harder. The relationship with Fisher ended quietly. In 1996, Clint married again. This time, it was Dina Ruiz, a television news anchor. They had a daughter named Morgan. This marriage lasted longer than some expected, but when the family agreed to film a reality TV show, things changed. The cameras added pressure. By 2014, the marriage was over. Clint's divorce from Dina Ruiz was finalized in 2014. While the separation was public, it did not result in a protracted legal dispute. The couple reached a settlement, and the proceedings remained relatively amicable, especially compared to the contentious legal battles Clint faced in previous relationships, such as with Sondra Locke. After the divorce, something unusual happened. Clint began dating Erica Tomlinson Fisher. She had once been married to Dinah's first husband. The story caught people's attention, but it didn't last long. Soon, Clint met Christina Sandera, who worked at a hotel in Carmel. They became close and started living together. Since 2015, Clint and Sandera have stayed quiet. They go to events together, sometimes with Clint's former partners or children. The group doesn't always get along perfectly, but they show up together. For many people, that feels like a kind of peace. After years of drama, the family seems to be working towards something calmer. Tragically, in July 2024, Christina Sandera passed away at the age of 61 due to a heart attack. The cause of death was listed as cardiac arrhythmia, with atherosclerotic coronary artery disease as a contributing factor. Clint mourned her loss, describing her as a lovely, caring woman whom he would miss deeply. The family was initially in shock, but over time, they have come to terms with the loss, supporting each other through the grieving process. Even so, people began to worry about Clint. He started missing public events. He skipped the golf event he usually attends. Fans noticed he hadn't been seen for more than a year. Stories began to spread. Some thought he was very sick, others feared he might already be gone. But then, in 2024, he returned. At a quiet event in Carmel, Clint appeared beside Jane Goodall. The moment caught everyone off guard. He looked different, older, with longer hair and a full beard. The sight of him brought relief. After all the questions, people finally had an answer. Clint was still here. He hadn't vanished. He hadn't stopped. He had simply stepped back, as he had done before. Today, Clint Eastwood lives a quieter life in California. At 94, Clint Eastwood is still active in the film world. Though he works more slowly now, he is still directing and producing, passing on his knowledge to younger people in the industry. His son Scott says that Clint's habits have shaped his own life. He credits his father for helping him stay grounded. Even with recent losses and health issues, he stays close to his family and values time with his children and grandchildren. His love for his work continues to inspire others, showing a life full of big achievements and deep personal moments. What do you think about Clint Eastwood's life now compared to how he lived before? Would you say he has built a lasting legacy? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Also, click on the next video on your screen. You won't want to miss it.